Quickly, there are those who would seek to stop this.
You are nothing but a usurper. A false idol.
The only thing they fear is you.
All right, Doom Eternal, here we go. Okay, so we're going to go for a lot of things really quickly here. I'll talk about the gameplay, story, the graphics, just kind of go into every aspect of the game here and just kind of give my quick thoughts on it. I've gone for the campaign basically twice now. I played the multiplayer, so I think I can speak to the game's strengths and to the game's weaknesses. So. Diving right into the gameplay. So we'll start off with the positive here. The gameplay, very, very, very solid. It is pretty much better in almost every way from Doom 2016. It really, in Doom 2016, don't get me wrong, that was basically a masterpiece. That was the best game of that year. It's the way it really supersedes that, though, is it goes all out with the difficulty. More demons, more variety of demons, and lots more of them in one place at one time. So, and on top of that, you combine that with a lower amount of ammo, and that all adds up to a recipe for, this is a much more challenging game than 2016. If you breeze through 2016, you're going to probably have a little bit more trouble with this one, and a lot of that becomes from the new demons in the game. We have things like the Archvile, Doom Hunters, the Marauder. Marauder in particular is giving a lot of people a lot of trouble. My advice is just save your super shotgun for that, and you'll have a much better time. But that's a good point to bring up right there, actually, too. In that the weapons in this game, you're really encouraged to actually use them more strategically. You can't just pick one gun and go for the whole game with that one gun. You really are going to use your whole arsenal, and that's awesome, because that was really just a problem with 2016 was you stuck with one gun and that's all you needed. This game, you have to actually use strategy. Save your plasma rifle for the Doom Hunters, super shotgun for the Marauders, things like that. So you really have to actually think a little bit about what you're using. But really, the combat, it all revolves around this dance of weaving in and out of getting close to enemies because you want to refill up your ammo, because there's very little limited ammo capacity in this game. And then at the same time, you want to kind of get, strafe and run away too. So it kind of creates this sort of dance that you do, this rhythm in combat that really is just a much better, much more raw, visceral, adrenaline pumping kind of experience than anything you had in 2016, or even some of the older Doom games as well too. But beyond the core combat loop, you have, of course, the return of things like collectibles, which I'm always a big fan of that. This time around, they're actually not a chore. They are actually kind of pretty, kind of cool. You got, albums you pick up which have like classic Doom and Quake music on it. You got your cute little toys and stuff you pick up as well. But you get things like Sentinel batteries, which you use to get access new areas of your little hub fortress as well too, that you go into between missions as well. So really this time around, the collectibles are not just a to-do list. It's actually something that really adds to the experience and adds a lot of Easter eggs to it. I'm going to talk very, very briefly about the multiplayer. I put probably 4 to 5 hours into the multiplayer, so I could definitely give it more of a shot, but really right now, honestly, this is one of the weakest parts of the game. It is, I give them credit for trying something different. It was, it's instead of just having the Doom 2016, kind of arena style multiplayer, which was actually pretty good. I'm one of the defenders of that because you don't see a lot of arena style multiplayers anymore. This time around, it's 2v1, 2 demons versus a Slayer. And it's enjoyable. It's fun. It just feels like every match just kind of boils down to the same thing. It's just not really all that great. And really with having only 3 people in a match, if you got one person that's not really pulling their weight, you're going to notice that pretty quickly. When you have a 12v12 or a 8-on-8 or a larger kind of multiplayer setting, you can have some dead weight there. But in this, if someone's slagging along, then it's just not going to be a fun event, and it doesn't work. So I'll probably play a little bit more of it, but I mean, this is not why you're buying the game. Try the battle mode, but move on probably pretty quickly.
You cannot kill the priests. You know our laws. Despite their transgressions against the Covenant, they are still of Sentinel blood. What you interfere with now is bigger than you can imagine. It is written. It is their time to give penance. If you continue, you will bring down the heavens' wrath. You are but one man. They are no longer your people to save.
Now let's get into the story. So this is where I started to bring up some more criticism of the game. I really like the gameplay. The story is, oh boy, it's a mess. Okay, so the story is, well, the first problem is it has one. So Doom has always been a series where story has not really been, it's basically a non-factor. It comes from that era of games where story was just not something we really cared about. We just wanted solid gameplay, and who cares why we're doing, what we're doing? Who cares why we're killing demons? I just want to kill the demons. In this game, they give this, complex weaving arc. It's like, I mean, they give you cutscene after cutscene. They give you all these different characters that you're introduced to, codex entries. There's like 1,000 codex entries. It's like reading War and Peace. I just don't get it. I mean, they did this so well in Doom 2016. Doom 2016 had a serious story that the characters in the story took seriously, but in a clever fashion. The Slayer himself did not take it seriously. He had all these irreverent kind of non-verbal, I mean, it's a silent protagonist, but all these non-verbal gestures that he did that were just kind of funny and clever. You could tell the Slayer just didn't take this world seriously, but the characters in it did, which was kind of clever. Because Doom has always kind of been that mix of seriousness, but also kind of goofy, funny, over-the-top violence and humor. So it's kind of always been that mixture, and that captured it perfectly in 2016. This time around, they went with this super serious story that you just don't care about. I mean, 9 out of 10 players will never look at the codex entries. Nobody really gives a shit about this stuff. So I've even tried to give an origin story to this. I don't understand why they did this. They did this so well in 2016. How could you falter for this? Going into graphics and sound, this really is a stress test for your PC build. I mean, really, the optimal settings for this. I mean, you need to have really a top of the line graphics card to really max out the ultra settings on this. I mean, I have a pretty high tier PC, but I mean, this was strained against the gears a little bit. And consoles, I mean, I don't know really how keeping up with this. I mean, it's this is really, it's visually, it looks fantastic. The environments this time around look way more interesting. They're a lot better than anything we saw in Doom 2016. They're a lot more varied and interesting with the hell landscapes and things like that, and kind of the heavenly fortresses and stuff you go to. Just way more interesting. Minor gripe I'm going to bring up really quickly here, and it's just something that bothered me in Doom 2016 as well too, is in classic Doom, when you kill demons, and you kill lots of demons, obviously it's the whole point of the game, they one of the cool things about the environment was you could see their bodies being left, and you could go into a room and there was just mounds and mounds of corpses everywhere, and that was actually kind of a cool part of the game. Now, I think just to save memory or something, whenever you kill a demon, and this is the same in 2016 too, I think Doom 3 as well, they just basically die and then they just dematerialize into the ether. So I don't understand why we can't have, kind of bask in the goriness of this, ostensibly very gory game. Why can't we have bodies piling up and why can't we have things flying off the walls and we're ripping for the environment? I mean, games 15 years ago, like I always bring up Fear because Fear is such a great game. But 15 years ago, that game had like real time, like technical terms, 3D bit mapping or whatever for environments, so you could actually blow off chunks of the wall, and it just was really, really cool to see that the carnage you did to the environment. And just why can't I have that in Doom? And that was kind of a Doom thing, it's one of the first games that kind of did that. So just a minor complaint there, but something to consider for the sequels is let's actually up the gore. I always like to talk about the larger kind of political and sociological context of the game. And there was some rumblings before Doom Eternal came out about, is this going to be a political thing or whatever? They're calling the demons mortally challenged. Is that making fun of PC culture and stuff like that? Politically correct culture. And really, I mean, honestly, this is a pretty apolitical game. There's not really a message to this game. There's not really like an agenda to this game necessarily. And I think that's great. I mean, really, this is not a game that needs it. I mean, I know, classic Doom in the 90s, that was the era of when, should we ban games and should we have legislation for violent video games, et cetera. I mean, at one point, Doom was kind of considered to be a little dangerous or subversive, I guess you could say. But now it doesn't really need that anymore. It can't. There's games that are way gorier and more controversial than the Doom Eternal will ever be. So it's not really, it doesn't have that sense of danger that it used to, and that's totally fine. It doesn't need to aspire to any kind of political message. I think the key takeaway for the story here is Doom doesn't really need one. Just make it fun and stupid and adrenaline charged, and that's what we want. Really, I mean, I hope you kind of feel my enthusiasm here. I really, really enjoyed Doom Eternal. Fantastic game, gameplay near flawless, improvement on 2016 in almost every way. Just some minor grievances and really just kind of a confusing take on the story. But other than that, I mean, this was a really fan-freaking-tastic game. Just awesome. And I mean, I can't wait for this time around. The DLC is going to be more focused on single player. There's going to be like 2 single player campaigns, so I'm looking forward to that. And to wrap it up, to give my review score, and I'm normally someone that doesn't like review scores, but to give my review score I would give it a 4.5 out of. I mean, this is near flawless. Just a few small gripes with it, but really, I mean, you're going to have a blast with this. It's fantastic, and even the multiplayer. I mean, I kind of dismissed it. I mean, it is kind of fun though. So I would give that a try too. But yeah, no, can't wait for the DLC, and I'm sure we're going to get another sequel to this eventually, Doom. So just really fantastic, really exceeded my expectations.